Good afternoon, everyone. I see that all of you can come here today and attend my short presentation about how to write good story. Well, before we begin, I have a story to tell you about my dream last night, if I remember. So, my dream last night is quite a bad dream, to be exact. I was dreaming like I'm being attacked by a demon. No, seriously. So, I was in my room, and I see my father doing his prayers. And in my room, there's this another figure who's apparently looked like my father too. I suspiciously think, is this my father? So I say those magical words. In Islamic words, of course. It's Auzubillah minasyaitonirrajim. And apparently, that other figure is Satan. No, really, it's Satan. After I say that word, that Satan ran off to the bathroom and never come back. Well, maybe that story is boring for you, or maybe it's usual to be heard, not that special, but if we add several things here and there, maybe this story could be a good one. So, hi everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Angga, and I'm a screenwriter and also a video game developer from a company. I work in Square Enix and also from software, and I'm here to tell you several stuff about how to make and write a good story. Now, the next slide is our agenda for today's presentation. On this current slide, as you can see, there are these two pictures that depict certain scenes from two different video games. Now, could any one of you tell me what are those two video games? The title of those video games? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Those two video games are masterpieces in current age of video games. On the left side of the slide, this video game is titled Little Nightmares. The next one is Valiant Hearts, both from respected company named Ubisoft, and the other one, of course, Square Enix. Now, these two video games are good and masterpiece. Why? Because these two video games serve the players good storytelling. What is a good story? In my personal experience as a screenwriter and as video game developer and designer from respective company, of course, a good story is a story in which we could relate to the characters, we could relate to the plot, we could relate it to our experience, and especially we could relate it to all the things that happen to us based on our own experience, of course. For example, Naruto. Of course, Naruto is an anime and not related to video games, but anyway. Look at Naruto. He's a lonely character who's always being blamed for everything which he did not do to the village in which he lives in. And he also bullied by his friends. And yeah, some of us, most of us probably, have ever been bullied just like him. And so we could relate to these characters, to the struggles that he faced and how to deal with it. And that is just one example of a good story. And next slide is about steps on how to make a good story so that you, as a video game developer or as a screenwriter, or if you wanted to be one, you could take these advices from this short presentation. Before we continue to the main part, in this slide, here's several ratings and reviews that critics of video games gave to those two video games that I mentioned before on the internet. Well, especially from IGN. Well, IGN is basically a website for critics of video games to critique and give reviews to video games, and basically these video games are good. I mean, look at that chart. It's almost perfect. Compared to, for example, you guys know Fallout 76, right? Well, Fallout 76 is basically the prequel for all Fallout video games, but the review is bad because the game is fully online and has no storyline, and moreover, there are many errors occurred here and there. So, look at the chart. Compared to Fallout 76, the difference is huge, isn't it? And that is why stories are important in creating video games and animation, or movies, or any visual you wanted to give to your audiences. With good stories, you could gain your audience attention, and if they like the story of the visual products that you offer, they'll pay more for the visual products that you guys produce. On this slide, here are steps on how to write down a good stories. First of all, write down your plot. Well, you have to create your basic frame for your plot in case you later on forget about what you want to write. For example, if you either want to write a fictional stories such as science fiction, or maybe romance stories, or maybe historical fiction, I don't know, anything that you want to write, at least you have to write the basic plot, basic frame for the story. Why? Because if either sometimes in the middle of your writing you forget your own plot, how are you supposed to know the continuation and how to continue it? So at least you have to write the basic plot for the beginning, conflict, and such. And the second step is to write down the personality of your characters. Well, because in real life, everyone of course have their own personality. For example, there's this type of guy who is introverted, and there's that type of guy who is extroverted, there's that guy of type who's in the middle, there's the bad boy type, there's the goody two-shoes type, there's the mysterious type. You have to write down all of them, because if you're not, then the story is gonna be boring. The characters will be the same, and what do you expect from the story? What's the moral of it? What's the change of the characters? What's their growth of personality? The most important thing in writing stories, especially if you want to publish a book such as what I did, watch your grammar. Why? Because grammar is important. If the grammar is not correct, how should anyone comprehend what you write down on your book? Develop your character's dialogue and how each of these characters interact with each other personality, of course. For example, if your character is a mysterious type, when he or she faced with a character that has outgoing personality, of course, most likely that character will just shut his mouth, or just, nod, or maybe just say a few words. And of course, do not forget to consider using words from which your character backgrounds are coming from. For example, if your characters come from peasantry, then most likely he or she will use foul language or a low society class language. And if your characters came from high status or high class society, of course, he or she will use high class status language. Next step is, remember this, do not, I say again, do not reveal the story too much in the dialogue or the narration. Wait for the right time for the plot device to reveal it. to the audience. I mean, for example, if your character has a background that shrouded in mystery, of course you won't and you can't let the narration or the dialogue reveal that character's identity too much, or otherwise there's no mystery shrouded him or her, isn't it? Also, the next step is to revise your story. Read your own story and don't forget to revise it if you happens to have another idea or another maybe things that you wanted to add in several parts of the story here and there. These two slides are about do's and don'ts on how to write your stories. Do's. First of all, keep writing. Why? Because practice makes perfect. So, just keep writing. Keep write down your stories, keep add some things here and there, and also don't forget to revise your stories, and maybe in the meantime you want to make a spin-off of your stories. Just keep writing, write it down. Don't stop. If you got any inspiration, just write it down, no matter how you think it might be ugly. Maybe you could later wanted to use it, rather than scrap it off just like that. The next thing to do is seek and make your own spare times to write down your stories. Why? Because if you write your story and while you think about other things that matters the most to you, of course, the story that you write will be just rushed and it won't be good. The last thing in use, the most important thing, especially if you want to write a story of history, fictional history, just like what I do, well, what I currently do. Now, research is important. Why? Because if you get any facts wrong, if you get any details that will be missed in your story, then that story will be incomplete. It would be just like another foul book that you shouldn't write. I know it's fictional history, but still, even if it's fictional, you still have to do the research. You have to do your research. Why? Because you bring others' culture, or maybe the culture that you don't know, and maybe history of a nation that you don't know. So don't forget to do research. Now on this slide, there are several things that you must not do. Don't do these things. Don't ever do these things. The first one you don't do is reveal too much about your plot, about the characters, and the backgrounds of the characters. Unless it's necessary for the continuation of the plot, for the explanation of several things so that there won't be any plot holes, and many other things that leave the story incoherent. Second thing that you guys should avoid in writing down your stories. Do not leave any plot holes. And the third thing that you mustn't do. Do not use plot devices such as Deus Ex Machina or any plot devices. Well, what exactly Deus Ex Machina? Well, Deus Ex Machina is basically when there's certain events that your character faced, and yeah, that character is saved by another character that doesn't have any relation to the story that you write down. So do not use too much. And finally, we came to the end of our presentation. If you wanted to know more about how to write down good stories, just add me and in my contact on this slide. Write down my number, my phone number, my line account, and such. And don't forget, if you wanted to buy my books, it's about how to write a good story. So just read it. You find more information there. And thank you very much for your attention, and have a pleasant day, everyone. Oh, also, if you have any question, just send me the message from those social media that I use down there. Okay? See ya!